Hello. Oh, it's a small group tonight. I guess the repeated asking people to subscribe to another channel just didn't work out. Okay, Linty London Taylor News. Hey guys in the UK. Sherry Hughes, thank you. Thank you. Mike Luft, hello. Barb in Ohio, so now I know. Ezra. Kazia Halperin. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just really bad. I always feel like I have to explain. I'm really bad with pronouncing names. Don't take it personally, please. Out of time. I am out of time, man. Mary Mack, Super Painting 62, James Motley, Cecilia Amarati, Marty Lauderdale, thank you. Both of you guys, thank you. What would I do without moderators? I don't know. Moody Cat, Brenda Rose, Bird's Eye Video, Oracle 11, Rage Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine, could you hold off on the bombing of the chat with your emojis? Could you maybe reduce it by 50%? It's very, well, the emojis, it's kind of like LOL, right? I hated email. I hated all of this technology. I sure as hell hated internet language, LOL. And I refused. I found it so flippin' irritating when I would see LOL. Then I started years later. LOL. I ain't doing the emojis. But they're irritating. So, especially when you get bombarded with them. It's very distracting in the chat. So, I'm just asking, reduce by 50%. That would be nice. Analog Synth Player, hello. Dominic, hello. Hypocrites Matrix, hello. Okay, so, emoji madness. Yeah. And why are they floating up? Ugh. I guess I'm just too old school. And I'm used to just reading print text, not texts on the phone. Just, text. Like words. And they're black and the page is white. Cynthia Johnston, hello. Fearless, hello. Jade Northrop, hi. So, I've been looking at radar, and in the last 2 or 3 days, it's kind of weirding me out because I haven't seen radar so quiet. And I check at least 3 times a day. And I'm like, okay, does this portend bad news for us? Like, we're just going to be really inundated with weather warfare coming up? I don't know. But this is current radar. And actually it looks a little bit more active than it did earlier. For sure, Southern California, it's got their extremely low frequencies, but even Southern California has been rather quiet. It's been tuned up a little, but I'll show you it's been eerily quiet. Eerily.
Need this, but let's assume for a second that it's true.
So except for the precipitation here in Washington. And now, well, we didn't see this earlier, but it was the blob coming onto into Washington. Now we have the extremely low frequencies. Well, not now. This was yesterday at 8:37 a.m. But when you look at all of the other states, yeah, it's definitely quiet. Quiet here. This was at 9:24 a.m. today. And yeah, we're usually seeing, some elongated line of precipitation, or we're seeing the supercell eruption, the activation of the nanobots, or we're seeing something. And I have to tell you, man, okay, this is definitely quieter than we have been experiencing for quite some time. And it does, now when I see things that are kind of relatively peaceful, I'm wondering, what are they thinking? What are they thinking? What is going to happen? Elsa Bobiner, hey. Antonio, hi. Patricia White, hi. What are they thinking? Well, we all know what they're thinking. Thinking in line with evil and destruction, because that's what evil knows. They only know how to destroy. Goodness creates. Evil destroys. So, yes, I got a copyright strike. Not a copyright strike, I'm sorry, a community guideline strike, and I can't post on Never Lose Truth 1 for 1 week. And, oh, wrong one. This is how your content violated the policy. Content that may pose a serious risk of egregious harm by falsely claiming that old footage from a past event is from a current event is not allowed on YouTube. Okay, well, this is a new one. Now, Twitter started putting, I've received them. This is footage from September 2022. If you post it as current, or even you're just reposting something, and it could be perceived as current. So they'll put a notice below the tweet saying, this was an event that took place such and such date. They don't punish you like you're a little child and ground you for a week. And do they let you know? At least on Twitter you know, because they're actually posting it on a tweet. And so you go, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, thank you, Twitter. YouTube, they don't let you know. Now, in a 2-hour live, this was not last night's live. They took down the live because of that. And I don't even know what YouTube is referring to. So, how do I appeal something if I don't know what you're talking about? This has become a thoroughly insane platform. And once I get out of my depression and I'm living life instead of surviving it, I'm going to do an awful lot of research and figure out how to get onto Rumble, because I cannot stand this. I can't stand this platform. It used to be so good before Google acquired it. Now, It's a piece of fucking mainstream media trash. I'm going to get a community guideline strike. Well, if I do, I'm going to just try. I did one Rumble live, but the chat was not working, and I'm going to have to go live because I cannot. You want to see? Look at the upload speed. So, I was talking to somebody in Kansas, and he sent me a capture of his upload speed. Okay, his upload speed, what these numbers mean, I don't particularly know, but they give you, an idea of the speed. Okay, 24.31. This is in a little town in Kansas, 24.31. And I guess I can't even read it. Total? Is it Total? That's the internet provider. 24.31. You want to see mine? I'm not going to wait for an answer. Sorry. 1.3. I wasn't lying. CenturyLink. It's fine for everything, but and I did it again on another site that you can do a speed test. So it was 1.3, and this one 1.5. So, uploading, just doing the videos as I used to do, I can't. Any of you who have been with me for a while, you know that I went through an awful lot of, essentially, the lives are the videos that I used to post. But if I post anything longer than 2 or 3 minutes, I literally cannot do anything on the internet. I can't. I can't even go to websites. It won't turn a page. So that is very frustrating for me. So I would have to do live on Rumble if I go down on YouTube, which is coming. It's going to come for all of us. And if I get another community guideline strike, I'd appreciate it if people could subscribe to Rumble. I don't know how to do live on Odyssey, but I'd appreciate it, because even though there are some in the chat that, well, I get a little frustrated with or irritated by. If I don't have you, that's a song. That's a lyric of a song. If I don't have you, alright, I need you. If I don't have you, I have nothing. Zip, zip, zip. My life has emptied out. You don't understand what that means? I get it. But it is. And it's very hard. It's very hard to even do life as it is. But at least I have 2 hours where I can do something, where I can see people doing, well, nobody's writing anything anyway. Yeah. It's very hard when the only thing in life you have is the cyber world. Yeah. When that goes down, boom. Boom goes your life. If I don't have you, I don't want nobody, baby. Okay. Alright. Got it. Thanks. I could hear the tune, but I couldn't think of the next lyric. Alright, so. Oh, wow. Numerous firefighters are battling a large warehouse factory fire in is that Reading, Pennsylvania? It's not Reading, Pennsylvania. It's I'm sure Reading, Pennsylvania. Large factory fire. Oh, wow. Let's see. 2-alarm fire erupted at a warehouse factory. Heavy flames are visible shooting out behind houses. It is currently unknown how the fire started, but an eerie red glow and thick smoke can be seen for miles. Alrighty. Yeah, still happening. So, when did this take place? This took place yesterday. Well, we need more people questioning what the hell is going on with all of these fires. We need more people questioning what the hell is going on that we have so many homes exploding. Reports of multiple injuries after massive gas explosion decimates apartment building in Wappingers Falls, New York. Really?
I was standing by the window.
Really?
Literally. And all of a sudden there was this huge boom noise and everybody ran outside and I looked down and there's fucking fire. I don't know what just started that, but it's pretty bad. And the fire... I was standing by the window, literally, and all of a sudden there was this huge boom noise, and everybody...
Houses and apartment buildings are just exploding all over the country. And look at this. Yeah, perfectly normal. You can hear the frequencies coming through the audio. Okay.
La madre, ¿qué chingos es eso? Válgame la Virgen Santísima, pues ¿qué es eso, José? Mira. ¿Qué es eso? Se está partiendo el pinche ¡ay, hijos de su chingada madre! Mira, No, pues está cabrón este pinche, pero está medio raro, ¿no? La madre, ¿qué chingos es eso?
Perfectly normal. Nothing to see here. Go about your business. Only one person thinks it's, unusual. I think I'm going to take a video of it. Good for you, sir. Good for you. But most people are just, well, brain dead. Look at that. These were the skies in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, that I was literally going out of my mind because, I would try to tell my friends, look up, does that look normal? Nobody really cared. Nobody cared. Look at all the black shit coming off of this. Look at all of black, white. Okay. Alright, drought conditions contributing to wildfires. There's a lot of places. Spain has a wildfire going on. There's a lot of, Louisiana has an odd fire that seems to be coming from underground. That's why they can't put it out. It's, I want to say Jefferson Parish. But they actually have 3 wildfires in Louisiana, close to New Orleans. And I saw this news clip, and this woman was talking about the horrible smell of the smoke. What's going on? Well, what did they say? Drought conditions. Tennessee, drought conditions.
Conditions are contributing to the several wildfires in this state.
Dramatic video shows one of those fires in Franklin County now fully contained. Our Michael Warwick tells us when the fire danger could improve.
A wildfire in Franklin County is under investigation tonight as the state's Division of Forestry combats very dry conditions across Tennessee.
Anytime we have a drought situation, definitely perks us up and makes us a little bit more sensitive to certain things.
The state's wildfire map shows firefighters have fought more than 24 wildfires this week, many along the plateau, where the region is classified as being in an extreme drought. Most of the fires have been contained, like this one in Sherwood. Fortunately, in that case, firefighters say it spread in a rural area away from any buildings.
Precipitation has been sort of hit or miss. We got quite a bit of precipitation here in Middle Tennessee this past Monday, but not all parts of the state received a good soaking rain, which is really what we need across much of the state.
Tim Phelps with the state's Forestry Division says the combination of wind and low humidity creates the wildfire risk.
Then conditions can get a little bit dicey, where if you do have some wind pickup, you might get an ember that blows over away from you and you have a wildfire on your hands.
Anytime.
An ember. Those embers are just... It used to be that you would have wind and you'd have low humidity and that was it. Now, red flag warnings. Oh my God, we've got wind. We have low humidity. Could be an ember from where? Somebody's kitchen as they're cooking? From a gas stove, no doubt. That's why. Get rid of gas stoves. Causing wildfires. You don't know how to get Rumble unless there's a link. Sherry just put the link in the chat, which, thank you. My moderators put the links in during every live. You have to understand this. This is completely and utterly volunteer. Volunteer. I don't tell them what to do. They just do it. And I'm incredibly appreciative of all that you do, Marty and Sherry and L78 when she's here. You need a link to the individual videos, like how KJ does. Don't understand that, but why can't you bookmark a Rumble channel? Seems a little odd. Oh, a cigarette ember. Absolutely. Why didn't I think of that? You're right. Okay. Yeah. Smart mods? Yeah. But selfless mods, absolutely. Absolutely. I smashed my knee. Oh, I didn't even shut the door to the bedroom area. But you see how narrow that space is? This place is a hazard for me. I have black and blue marks on my knees, on my elbows. I'm constantly smashing into that tight spot. But today, wow, I really smashed my knee right on the corner of that narrow spot. And it hurts. Oh, it hurts. It's not that bad. All right. Very good video posted by Hawaii Real Estate? Yes, the mystery of Emerald Plaza, burned buildings in Lahaina. This is a 26-minute video, which I will link to, and he's walking around, and he's just asking questions about rather unusual sightings as he's walking around, but I'll just introduce you to the first part of the video, and then I'm just going to swing on, give you a synopsis, but you can check it out just by clicking the link.
I'm coming to you from Calvary Chapel right next door, and just to orientate you, I'm seeing some things that are unusual. I just want your opinion. That's all I want. That's all I ask. Don't shoot the messenger. Again, just showing you where I'm at. I'm right here next to Island Grocer. This area was recently opened up again to the public, which is nice. People can come here and get some good groceries, some Ono grinds here at Island Grocery. Next door is, of course, Calvary Chapel, where we gave $100,000 of your graciously donated dollars to help fire survivors, victims of the fire. But across the street, we have this very interesting series of buildings that burned. And we're just gonna go for a quick walk. I'm gonna show you 4 things that I'm finding very interesting, and I just want your opinion on if you're a fire marshal or if you're somebody that understands anything about fires. I don't pretend to, but I just find this curious and interesting. So you have obviously a concrete cinder block building here with a metal roof, metal siding, and obviously the building next door is fully intact, no structural damage, no fire damage whatsoever. And then you have this building here. You can see the scuba tanks in there. This was one of the dive shops. You can see it's completely and utterly burned from the inside out. Okay. So I'm going to show you 4 things on this quick walk. I don't know how quick it's going to be, but I'm going to show you 4 things just for the record. And anybody that knows anything about fires can maybe help us understand this better from a layman's perspective. Here's the official record. It's considered unsafe. Emerald Plaza A was inspected 9/26 maybe. Unsafe, do not enter. And over here the EPA says property is hazardous and the material removal is deferred according to the EPA. And there's a URL. Contact that number, 808-539-0555. So anyway, we're just obviously going to respect the police tape lines here. Caution tapes, do not enter. We're just going to zoom in on our iPhone here and just let you take a look around here. And on the other side of this is a concrete, barrier, and then there's a huge concrete washout, kind of drainage area essentially. But isn't this just interesting? What I find the most interesting about this is the fact that there's really nothing else around here that caught fire. Once again, across the street, Calvary Chapel, Island Grocers. This is Ali'i Linen Service. Everything is still good to go. And yet these buildings are completely, utterly
burned from the inside out, which is pretty interesting, don't you think? But he also shows right here, where'd the fire come from to hit this building that was burned from the inside? Because he's showing right here there's no evidence of fire.
These particular buildings to go up. I don't know the answer. Again, just curious, right? Don't shoot the messenger. I never said microwave or do or conspiracy this or that or the other. I am just pointing the camera at what happened, and I'm asking for public input, thoughts, how it's possible. How did these buildings catch fire? They're metal. Last time I checked, metal isn't like super flammable, right? Do you ever go on like a campfire and, hey honey, bring some sheet metal along. We're gonna roast some marshmallows. That's just, now this was on fire down below. You can see this is scorched. So the fire went along here, but not a lot of fuel. So what caused these particular buildings to go up?
Yeah. What caused those buildings to go up? He also shows this car with the window that obviously was hit by something, right? Okay, so this is a very interesting video. For sure begs questions like this. This building, completely intact. The building's right here, not even touched, not even any burn marks on it. But look at this vehicle. Oh, that's interesting.
These have been here for a while, but then this thing, and I know it didn't get moved here because you can still see the scorch marks on the building. Okay, so how'd this thing catch fire? Scorch marks, right? It was definitely burning right here. Just a random car fire? Random truck fire? I don't know, man. I don't know, you tell me. Last time I showed this to the world, I got in so much trouble. You know, I'm a bad guy because I'm showing the world like melted stuff. Again, maybe I'm just an amateur. Maybe you're a fireman out there, a fire marshal or an arsonist specialist or some kind of government official that says, hey, Eric, this is how it works. There's these large embers that just fly around and just randomly car bomb, you know? Okay, I'd probably believe you.
Okay, so he shows, you know, this building got hit, but look at the trees right around it. He's kind of like asking questions. He knows, but he's just saying, yeah, so these fires seem to go after metal, but not wood. That's kind of odd, don't you think? Look at the wood, but whatever, you know, was there, the wood is okay. And he also shows a very interesting, like a culvert, metal, that got hit. Let's go right here.
Wait a second. Okay, so this is Tamura's. If you remember Tamura's, it's totally unscathed. This lot next to it obviously caught a little bit of a brush fire, small kind. But what I found interesting here is there's a metal culvert here, and the metal culvert is melted. Look at the metal culvert. Look at that. That's a metal culvert, man. It's melted. And just a little bit of grass, right? Why is that metal culvert charred?
Why? And he shows, oh, no fire, trees are fine, the building completely intact, no burn marks, but that car? What happened here?
Perfectly fine. We got a concrete parking lot, right? I mean, even the trees are still good. And yet we got this guy. I mean, this car is melted, bro. This thing got absolutely melted. I mean, there's nothing. Someone probably threw that water bottle in there, but look at this thing, man. Now talk to me, people. Somebody, not a conspiracy theorist, but somebody that understands something about fires. Tell me, in the midst of this fire, is there an ember that's big enough that could float over here, incinerate this car, melt it?
Yeah. Concrete parking lot. Oh, all right. So he goes on showing more unusual things. In fact, he shows this. You see how the this parking lot, the concrete or the tar or whatever, has been ripped up right there. Well, somehow the fire got there. That's kind of unusual. Let's listen to him.
An underground culvert. I don't know if you can see that very well, but if you stick your fingers in the side here, you come up black with ash, except for that little area down there. Now check this out. They tore up all this asphalt right here. And these are an underground culvert. I don't know if you can see that very well, but if you stick your fingers in the side here, you come up black with ash. And you can see a bunch of ash that's in there, right? And then this was all recently dug up. And then if you walk down to this end of the building, you can see there's a burned out boat over there. And you got this whole area here is super scorched, right? Super scorched. And on the other side of that car is a boat that's melted. There's a boat. See that? Look at that. That's a boat. I checked it out earlier. There's somebody down there now. I don't want to be up in someone's grill.
All right, I'm going to put the link in again, but Jeff Schneider 2 has posted for a long time on plasma fires coming from underground, and, well, the evidence is just mounting, right? The evidence is mounting that these are not natural wildfires caused by climate change, and, well, we have to now revamp the entire area into a smart 15-minute city. How sad. All right, now we're going to get to something that could, upset. I don't mean to upset, but Christian Zionism. Christian Zionism. I'm going to play some, I'm going to link below to Whitney Webb's research on the untold story of Christian Zionism's rise to power in the United States. And sorry, but for all of those who are claiming that it's the Jews or it's the Muslims and they're the evil ones, you have to accept that there might be some evil ones in your group, in every group. Yeah, and there are. So I'm going to play an excerpt from this video. And she talks some about her research.
The beginning of the show, we should probably get back to like the origins of Zionism. Was you had Mayor Rothschild, or one of the Rothschilds, at the beginning of the story.
Let's go back farther. So again, go to mintpressnews.com, search for my old article, The Untold, Untold Story or Untold History of Christian Zionism. It's one of the two. So Christian Zionism, and really Christian Zionism precedes Zionism. Yeah. So the founding father of Zionism, sorry, my cough keeps coming back. The founding father of Zionism is Theodor Herzl, who wrote this book called The Jewish State. I don't know, I was either the end of the 19th century or early 20th century, but the Puritans back in the 17th century in Britain and then later in the American colonies were calling for a Jewish ethno-state in Palestine back then as a necessary requisite to fulfill end times prophecy, so that basically we need to make this happen so Jesus will come back. That was the mentality there. And then, it didn't really get that far with the Puritans alone, but then you have this one guy come on the scene who's a British preacher, John Nelson Darby, I think is his name, if I remember correctly. Sorry, I wrote about this stuff a few years ago, so I may get a little weird on the names, but he basically developed, I think it's called Christian dispensationalism, which sort of divides history into different eras. Like, so now we're in the Messianic era and all of that. And he also developed the rapture as a thing. So, the rapture is very common in American Christianity, but it didn't exist until the early 1800s. No one believed in it before, and it has no scriptural basis. It doesn't. There's no scriptural basis for the rapture in the Bible. There's nothing that says it anywhere. Just letting people know. Because there's a lot of people that are like in this messianic movement within Christian Zionism. All this stuff has to happen to be fulfilled, because once it happens, there'll be the third temple, when it's there, will trigger the beginning of the tribulation, and the rapture has to happen before the tribulation, so we won't be here and we won't have to suffer all this stuff that we helped create. Okay, but no one believed in the rapture until the 1800s, and it was this one guy in his church that developed it. So it's not in the Bible. So try not to make hell on earth, please. That's what I'm trying to get at there. Anyway, so this guy became really influential, and it kind of spread all over the place. And you basically had a couple different things happen in the 1800s. But one that's really important is that you start having like elite people in America and Britain getting really involved with this idea of an ethno-state, a Jewish ethno-state in Palestine. And it was, at the time, completely rejected by the Jewish community globally, really. Not into it at all. And so there's this one rabbi that was sort of into it. Kalischer is his last name. And he sort of developed this movement, but it was very fringe at the time in Judaism, that we can't wait for God to fulfill the Messianic era, so we have to hasten the coming of the Jewish Messiah. And this sort of torch has been picked up since by the Chabad Lubavitch movement, which is very, very influential, by the way. So for example, in the Trump administration, you have Mike Pence and you have Mike Pompeo, but Jared Kushner is very tied up with the Chabad Lubavitch movement. So is Netanyahu. So is Robert Maxwell, and a lot of different powerful actors over the years. Anyway, getting ahead of myself, sorry. So Kalischer wrote a letter in like 1830 something to one of the Rothschilds, yeah? And then the guy, Charles Taze Russell, that later creates this church that becomes the Jehovah's Witnesses, also writes to the Rothschilds asking for an ethno-state in Palestine. And there's a few of these letters that are written, and then eventually you get the Balfour Declaration in like 1917. But before then, you get something called the Blackstone Memorial, which is like at the end of the 1800s, you have a letter from some of the most powerful people in the United States, none of them Jewish really. Well, there might've been out of 100 something signatories, like a handful of Jewish people, calling, it was written to the Secretary of State of the US at the time. I forget who was president. But they're calling for the establishment of the state in Palestine. And this is all before Theodore Herzl, right, was even around. And the people that signed that Blackstone Memorial, it's J.P. Morgan, J.D. Rockefeller, members of Congress, mayors of New York and Boston, Supreme Court justices. I mean, like super powerful people. They're all, WASPs. They're not Jewish people, right? And they're saying we need this to happen. And then if you look into the history of Theodore Herzl himself, his whole movement was shaped by a British guy who I think was stationed at the British embassy in Austria, William Heckler, who was like he's a Freemason, totally obsessed with the Third Temple, had like replicas of the Third Temple in his office, was just totally obsessed with it, and felt like the ethno-state and Jewish ethno-state in Palestine had to happen for the end times. He's the guy that like gets sort of mentors Herzl in some ways, connects him with powerful political people, specifically like in Germany and in that part of Europe, and like basically gives his movement, the early Zionist movement, political legitimacy, which of course later develops. And then you have powerful people in countries around the world, Europe and also the US, people like Louis Brandeis, for example, who are Jewish, who become very involved in the Zionist movement. But it took a while for people who were actually Jewish to want the ethno-state in Palestine. And you don't really have mass support for it in the Jewish community until after World War II. So there's a lot of powerful actors that wanted this to happen for very particular reasons a long time ago, and not necessarily because they think it's best for the Jewish community. So again, definitely go and read that article, because I'm just paraphrasing it and I wrote it 4 years ago, but this history is really important because you have a lot of people who still feel that way guiding current events, and it's not for the benefit of Jewish people or for the Palestinians or for Christians or any of these people. It's an obsession with the apocalypse, and people really need to look into this, because I personally don't want to have the apocalypse happen and blow up everything because people think it's going to bring their Messiah back. Well, it's
a self-fulfilling prophecy with no good outcome.
Yeah, it's this whole thing of like, let's play God. You see it with transhumanism too. Let's become the gods now. And then these other people in this arena are like, well, let's not wait for God to do it. Let's take matters into our own hands and force him to do stuff. It doesn't work that way, guys.
Yeah. I'm just envisioning the domino meme where it's like some dude invents the idea of the rapture in the 17th century, and then the big domino is like nuclear holocaust in 2024 or something like that.
Well, it's like sad because there are like so many people that are like, it doesn't matter all the bloodshed in Israel and Palestine and what happens as a consequence of it in World War III. Let's support all of that because I'm going to get raptured out of here. Dude, it's not in the Bible. This one guy made it up. And if you look into him, he was like not a normal dude. Yeah. And I guess one figure I didn't really bring up in terms of the Christian Zionism thing was the guy that really popularized that outside, like among the masses. So before this view, right, you know, J.D. Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, it was like very among the American elites. And there's also a lot of overlap with Freemasonry. So Charles Taze Russell, who I mentioned earlier, the guy that, you know, helped create the Jehovah's Witnesses. Look up where he's buried and what his tombstone looks like. Just leave it there. Definitely an interesting fellow who happens to be buried under a giant Masonic pyramid.
Wait, what was his name?
Whatever.
James Russell?
Charles Taze Russell, T-A-Z-E.
Charles Taze Russell. Look up the tomb. Logan, we're going to pull this up.
He would give like these big stadium speeches to Christians and Jews alike saying, we got to make a Jewish ethno-state in Palestine, like at the end of the 19th century and stuff. I mean, people overlook this stuff, but I mean, these are definitely influential people. But anyway, the guy I didn't mention who's really influential is a guy named Cyrus Scofield, who wrote the Scofield Reference Bible. And if you look there it is. I mean, totally normal dude wants to be buried under that, you know?
Jesus Christ.
Whatever. Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, not interrupting at all. So the Scofield Reference Bible guy, basically Cyrus Scofield had to leave where he was originally from because of corruption scandals, and like he abandoned his wife and daughters and was a drunk and was basically an all-around piece of shit. And eventually he gets involved with some like elite people, even though he's like sort of tried to revive himself as a different kind of, I guess, preacher, getting into this Christian dispensationalist movement that I talked about earlier. And then he, out of nowhere, this like small town preacher gets invited to join this like really exclusive secret society in New York called the Lotus Club. And where like Andrew Carnegie and the Vanderbilts and all these guys were members. So like, what is he doing there? And that club ended up financing him to write what is called the Scofield Reference Bible, and then arranged for him to go to England, where he got the first reference Bible printed by Oxford University. And then thanks to all these elite connections, it was basically became like the main Bible used in seminaries throughout the United States. And I think also in the UK. And this is important because so this Bible is it's the King James Version, but it's like annotated by Cyrus Scofield, even though he wasn't a trained theologian and had started off like, having all these issues with like forging documents and bribing people and like, yeah. So anyway, that's his background. But he's interpreting all this stuff, and it basically became the standard for a lot of seminaries in the US, and that's how it sort of got out. And so a lot of interpretations of the Bible come from that are, things like that you hear from a lot of Christian Zionists, like if you curse Israel, you will be cursed. And if you bless Israel, you'll be blessed, which by these groups becomes something like, if you criticize Israel, you're cursing Israel. And so you're going against the Bible by saying anything negative about Israel's government. Right? And it goes back to that. And it comes from the Scofield Reference Bible. Very weird. I don't know. It's definitely worth looking into Cyrus Scofield and who he was, because, whether you're a Christian or not, I think honestly this history matters. And I think especially if you're a Christian, it matters, because, you should be concerned with, the lack of, how should I phrase this? Like, the focus of Christianity, in my opinion, should be, as close to the truth as Jesus taught it. right? Not necessarily like people like John Nelson Darby and all these guys in the 1800s and Cyrus Schofield adding their interpretations to it. Like maybe you should go back earlier before like all these centuries of like corrupt Catholic popes and then, corrupt people like Cyrus Schofield started interpreting stuff for, their political benefit, So, I mean, it's definitely worth considering some of this stuff, you know what I mean? So again, if you want to know how the Middle East is going to play out, or at least rather where they're going to try and take this, definitely look into the stuff because it's been going on for a long time, and it definitely precedes Theodore Herzl and all of that stuff to a significant degree. And this same line of thinking is still influencing events today.
Lineage of radical Christians trying to bring about the rapture is why we're... It's
not just Christians, though. Yeah? It's like there's people in Israel and people in the U.S. and arguably beyond. I mean, I'm not... I haven't studied Islam that extensively. So a lot of this line of research at Mint Press happened because I majored in religion in college. So I had a lot of background, but I never really have studied Islam. But I know there's messianic varieties of Islam as well. So it's very possible that on their side, they also sort of want to bring out their Messiah too. I mean, it's more than possible. You have all these different groups pushing for their different end time scenarios that they think are going to favor them in some way. But again, to go back to this quote from Gareth Ike that I sort of said earlier, let's get off the chessboard, stop playing these guys' game, because it's very bloody and it's very nasty. It's very against human freedom and the values that I think most, sane people share, right?
Yeah, no, it's, going back to the Bible, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. I'm not sure if that's the Bible or...
Yeah. That's sort of essentially happening now in terms of justifying, what's going on with Israel and Palestine and the increasing escalations. Right.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's been crazy to see just the vitriol spreading. We have protests here in the U.S., the Capitol building yesterday, embassies around the world. Everybody is out looking for blood. And like you said, I don't know how we can do it, but it definitely needs to happen. It's hey, people, everybody walk off the chessboard. You're being manipulated. And going back to...
Well, you may not be able to convince other people to walk off the chessboard, but definitely don't feed into the extreme, let's get all divided in anger, hate, and anyone that doesn't believe what I believe is a terrorist mentality. That is so not helpful. And it's, it was totally what was not helpful about COVID too,
and it is helpful too.
You didn't get the vax, you're a biosecurity threat to me and my family and my grandma,
And now it's becoming clear
same deal.
That what was promised, that this wasn't gene therapy, it's becoming clear that there was a lot of DNA that was not supposed to be in those vials.
Well, this is what happens when you trust the craziest people at DARPA in the military to make a vaccine for you without any sort of...
Okay. Very interesting interview. And I'll put the link in again. The topics covered in this interview are Clown World spirals closer to World War III, divide and conquer through pick a side, Israel's 9/11, neocons trying to regain base, financial crisis, CBDCs and financial cancellation, Lungo's theory, ending anonymity, big tech versus freedom tech, AI, Christian Zionism. Keep your mind through the clown world. Don't go insane. AI religion. Bitcoin is a revolution against the cyber banking regime. I'm not entirely convinced of that. And a wrap up. So, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about Christian Zionism, and I've known that that's, you know, the evangelicals and the fundamental crazy. And there's an awful lot of Christians outside of that group who look at everything as if it's prophecy and Jesus is going to come back really soon. And if you have that belief, why would you do anything to stop what is taking place? Yeah. So, but who knew that Zionism started with Christians? Pretty flippy world that we have. Pretty flippy world. Oh, and there were a couple of comments. Well, T. Lamb, you are so not bitter. Let me just say that. Having had conversations with you several times, you're not bitter. But apparently people are telling you that you're bitter. They tell me I'm bitter. I'm not bitter. I get angry, and it's actually, I think it's called righteous anger. I get angry at injustice and all of, you know, what we are seeing. I get very frustrated. It's almost like, wow, people have a very strange way of thinking, and it is kind of, you know, you either are positive or negative. You're either this or that. You know, nobody is that. You know, we all have a range of emotion, and those emotions are our internal communications. God gave us all of those emotions. It's okay to be angry. In fact, that's one of the emotions that God gave us. All right. And I see, you know, sometimes in the chat where people are saying, you know, nobody should be angry at what is taking place because that's what they want you to be. They want you to be angry. Fuck them. Why are you allowing yourself to be controlled by them when you're facing something that, yeah, anger is an appropriate emotion to what you are witnessing, but you're telling yourself you can't be angry because that's what they want you to be? You're allowing them to control you still because of what you think they want, so you're not going to be that. Yeah, just be real. Just be real. There's an awful lot to life that's really simple. Just be real. Be who you are. Feel what you feel. You know, of course, we don't want our emotions taking over, and yes, I've been guilty of that. We've all been guilty of that. But we come back to a place of allowing ourselves to feel and think at the same time. But that's the social engineering that goes on amongst all of us. We social engineer one another. You get angry? People disapprove of that. So the next time you're like, I can't be angry. Yeah, I think that God is in you when you are so deeply compelled to speak out. You know, it's definitely in me. I can't not. But it's almost like a force beyond me. And I think that's God. If you don't have that, you ain't got God. I don't know what you have. You might just have your belief and you're riding on that. But, yeah, you know. And then, you know, I read that Christians tolerate criticism. Oh, really? Well, you haven't read my comment section for 13 years. So, let's go to another window. This really was very interesting. Good job. And if you really want to blow your Christian mind, do some research on the Bible written by Roman propagandists. Yeah, there's quite a lot of evidence. All of those scholars. Very interesting. Anyway, we'll move on.
Go ahead.
So a couple of facts. I'm American. I'm Jewish. My family lives in Israel. I just lived in Israel for the last 4 months. I got back 2 weeks ago.
You dodged the bullet there.
Literally. So what I think everyone who's never been to Israel and to Palestine don't really understand. You don't really understand until you go to the territories around the West Bank and around Gaza, and you're close up and you see the wall, and when you see the surveillance, and when you see cameras pointed towards the settlers, just a couple, and then you see thousands of cameras pointed towards the West Bank and to Palestinians, and those cameras are pointed into their homes, like not just the streets, not the public areas, straight into their homes, into their backyards, on their rooftops. I mean, until you see it, and you see that there are, on the checkpoints, there are autonomous weapons loaded and ready to shoot someone based on video footage, and that those autonomous weapons are pointed on one side. Like, I don't think people understand what occupation means. And I don't understand because I haven't lived it. I have only looked at it from a distance. But what I can imagine is if you're a child and you're growing up knowing that the country that you live in hates you and that they are willing to kill you, having never met you in their life based on just a video image, that the facial recognition and the surveillance and the high degree of technology and spyware that they have guarantees that they could pick off Hamas members one by one without ever blanket bombing Palestine. There's no way that this level of intelligence that Israel has doesn't dictate that what they're doing is a massacre and it's genocide, and that the occupation is inhumane, and that it's not based in religion, it's not based in who was there first, and it's not based in a tit for tat. It's white supremacy, and it's dictatorship, and it's power and control and humiliation of a people who have nothing to do with the hostages taken and the people who were brutally murdered. Because yes, that is horrible. Those are my friends. Like, those are people I know. Like, I still have a family member who's missing, and we're giving DNA trying to figure out where they are. We don't know if they're dead or alive. But then also I have Palestinian friends who don't have water, who have for years and years now lost loved ones and children and have given birth at checkpoints, and who have been humiliated and dehumanized under an occupation and an apartheid, that if you are a child who grows up in that, why would you not fight for your dignity or stand up for your freaking rights? And if it's about who was there first, then America needs to take a good long look at the reservations that we put all these Native Americans into and the poverty that they live under. If it's this land belongs to whoever was here first, then we have a big reckoning to do.
Yeah. Well, what's happening in Palestine is what we did to the natives, and still do to the natives. You know, we put them on the reservations. I mean, who did that? Was it the Jews? No. So, when you're looking at immoral behaviors, first look in the mirror. Because we all have them. We've all done damage. No one is so pure that they can actually, point the finger at, pointing a finger at a whole group of people is just, wow, that's so low. I don't understand it. But belief gets you there, right? But, okay, I saw another comment, and I just have to ask this question, because I see it a lot. It's the true Christians. The comment was, true Christians are tolerant. What is a true Christian? Because every Christian thinks that they're the true Christians. So what is a true Christian? I mean, who gets to be in that category? I've heard people say that those who go to church are not the true Christians. So I've heard people, categorize it as the small C Christians versus the capital C Christians. The capital C's go to church, and the small C Christians are the real Christians. How do you... Okay, I'm not... That's the kind of putting people in categories that I do not understand. So every Christian believes they're the true Christian. So how is it? What's the definition? What is the definition of a true Christian? True Christian would speak for the weak. True Christian would be out there helping the weak. True Christian would be fighting this evil, not waiting for Jesus to come back. So, let's move on. There are so many Jews who are so upset about what is taking place. So many are that have been at this for many years, and but you still see people blaming the Jews, blaming the Muslims. Jews hate Muslims, Muslims hate Jews. None of, when you put it in that framing, you're a danger. You become a danger to everybody, even those in your own group. Because you perpetuate all of the animosity, even hate. You perpetuate that. An ex-Israeli soldier breaks his silence on how the IDF terrorizes innocent Palestinians. Now, when we're talking about Israel, we are not talking about all Jews. We are not talking about all Israelis. And I really hope for the mind that is so split, that has not really developed into understanding nuance, understanding, no, it's not one group over another group. They're still walking the low road, believing that they're in the good group, and then there's the other. All right. No religion. I'm sorry. This is a very deranged way of thinking. But this has been going on for many years. So no, this did not start October 7th. You have to look at the past, and you don't have to go that far back. There's an awful lot of information readily accessible for anybody who wants it to see what was happening to the Palestinians in Israel, in the Gaza Strip, in the West Bank, And it's got to stop. It has to stop. You know, so
I have a new unit in town. They just finished training. The first time they're deployed, you don't want the first arrest operation they carry out to be the real thing. So you send them on a mock arrest before. You choose the most peaceful, quiet Palestinian village in the area where you served, open an aerial photo of the village, choose a random house in the village, pick up the phone, call the Secret Service, make sure that the guy living in the house you've chosen randomly is innocent, and that by operating on him, you are not interfering in intelligence gathering operations that the Secret Service has in the area. Once you get the go, meaning he's innocent, and you're not interfering in Secret Service business in the area, you come in the middle of the night, you surround the house, grab the guy, handcuffed, blindfolded, as if it's a real arrest, put him in a Jeep. After 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, someone goes on the radio, says, end of exercise, stop the Jeep, release the guy, go back to the base, and go to sleep. So you're probably wondering why the hell to do it. Actually, soldiers who get these orders usually also wonder why the hell we're doing it. We know the guy's innocent, so why we're doing it? And they ask their commanders, and you know what many soldiers heard back? Mainly two reasons. One is training. As close training can be to reality, better. So if you can do it on a real Palestinian village, on a real Palestinian house, on a real Palestinian man, better. But the second reason is even more interesting. Think of it. A mock arrest is just another advanced way of making your presence felt. You go in the middle of the night to the village, surround the house, some noise, some movement, lights, shouting, military movement in the village, people wake up, they know you're here. They see you arresting a person that they know he's innocent. They're not stupid. Yeah, people in the village usually know. So they start to ask questions. Why the hell are you arresting him? He's innocent. But then they see that you released him. So what the hell's going on here? Arrest, released. Is he a collaborator? Yes, no. And they don't find the answers, so they're even more scared. When you know what's waiting behind a corner, you can calculate. When you have no idea what's waiting around the corner, that's when you're really terrified, right? Because when the goal is intimidation, the lack of logic is the perfect logic. Prevention is a reality of constant intimidation of everyone, everywhere, all the time. There is nothing a Palestinian can do in order not to be intimidated.
The founder of Breaking the Silence, where the IDF soldiers speak their experience. And that's exactly right. You know, when you think about what the Palestinians are living, they're living in Stasi Germany with all of the surveillance. They're innocent, but the IDF is breaking into their homes, pulling them out of their homes, just like the American soldiers did in Iraq, and just like the American soldiers do in an awful lot of places. So, you know, and I saw a comment, Jesus lived by natural law. Yes, yeah. To put it simply, natural law is that you have the consciousness in life, and how you operate in life is that you do no harm to any sentient being, meaning two-legged, four-legged, no harm. That doesn't negate self-defense. But as you're going through life, you think about what you're doing. And will it cause harm to another human being? That's natural law. That was essentially Jesus' teaching. Well, it's gone awry. It has gone awry. Now, this was Kim Iversen breaks down in this. I've never seen her break down before, but she does. And it's a very, very good video where she's talking about her experience going to Palestine and others, their experience.
This was viewed millions of times. It was commented on thousands of times. And so I felt like tonight I needed to do a show on this in order to address it. Let me just go ahead and read to you the tweet to start off with. This is what I said. And I'm going to elaborate on this tonight on the show because this is, of course, a tweet, and so it's not as long as what it could be. Every American I know who has spent time in Palestine comes back angry, disgusted, and traumatized. I've yet to meet someone who says it's not that bad. It's their fault, and they deserve it. I've met many who went believing Israel were the good guys, and Palestinians screwed themselves over, only to come back with an entirely disgusted view of Israel. I came back in a state of shock. I witnessed in real life things I'd only read about in history books, things I never believed a government could do in modern times. I had a neutral view of Israel prior to my trip. During my trip, I was extremely skeptical and even pissed off several Palestinians with my lines of questioning. I couldn't turn on the lights or get myself, when I came back to the States and began processing everything, I couldn't turn on the lights or get myself out of bed for a week. What I saw was unimaginable. It was a cruelty aimed at a group of generous and warm people with a very, very clear intent to get rid of them. And I couldn't believe the group doing it to these people had done it to them not long ago. They took similar tactics and weaponized them against others. That is what I saw, and I can't unsee it. The children in the schools would stop me and beg me to come home and tell America to stop. They know it is us allowing this abuse. Myself and everyone I know comes back disgusted with Israel, and many of us weren't even in Gaza witnessing war. Everyday normal life for Palestinians is cruel, and it is 100% controlled by Israel. And despite what we've been spoon-fed our whole lives, it is not done because the Palestinians are violent and dangerous. It is done to rid the region of them, to make their lives so miserable they either leave or violently rise up, giving Israel an excuse to take more land. And the Israelis are not shy about this when you speak to them. Some might couch it with statements like, well, we tried peace, but they didn't accept it. It doesn't matter how they phrase it. They still end up in the same place, which is they can't stay and we want them gone. This tweet now has been seen, as I mentioned, millions of times. It is thousands of comments and retweets. And many people were able to share their own experiences when they went to the West Bank, and I want to share some of those with you now. Here's one, Myrna Schmidt. She says, I had this experience. As a Canadian, I went with a strong bias in favor of Israel. Seeing the truth on the ground changed my view 180 degrees in just hours. Here's another one from Stephanie Edmonds saying, I
have to stop this. Jews as a whole hate Jesus. So wrong. Unbelievably wrong.
First ever Google search, Golda Meir. My first ever international trip, Israel. That is what good Jews do. We learn our history and pass on the tradition. No amount of Israeli propaganda can undo what I saw and experienced during my time in the West Bank. Here's choices. I had the same experience after I went on a human rights delegation to Israel in the West Bank and Gaza in 1988. I so agree that you can't imagine it unless you've been there. Here's at Proverbial Soups. Sounds like my experience. Going to Israel, Palestine is the ultimate red pill. Nobody can gaslight Americans who've actually been there. We can't unsee what we have seen. Huma Yasin, I want to add, I have been well educated on the oppression of the Palestinian people. But when I visited the West Bank myself and experienced maybe a billionth of what they experience, my blood was boiling. I don't know how anyone with a beating heart wouldn't feel the same.
So there's an awful lot of people who have not visited the Gaza Strip or the West Bank. a whole lot of us just get our education from others, but in listening to others and their experience, well, yeah. This is true for everyone walking the planet. What is happening now, and with all of these events that are taking place, you need to think about not just the event itself, but what is it triggering in you? What is it turning in you? And every event can be a real learning experience. Like, learn. When people attack other people, something's going on inside them. People have learned hate is not a natural condition. People have learned to hate other people because of other people in their life. Usually starts when they're quite young. And we've got an awful lot of people who are grounded in hate, and they'll live their lives completely as religious people hating another. This, I just wish that there was, some magic wand you could wave, but it doesn't work like that. The individual has to do work on themselves. So, and if I'm going to put the link in again, she goes on talking about her experience and other people's experience, and it is sad, and well, people do break down, So then I come across this, an Israeli and a Palestinian. In this video, we are no enemies. We are no enemies. We're not enemies. Yeah. And I just wish everybody could be like these two.
I went to the supermarket last night. I bought loads of food to bring there. Even I bought some chicken, so it's frozen. I hope we have enough space in the car.
Het lijkt wel een wereldreis vanuit Tel Aviv. Toch is het maar een uurtje naar bezet gebied.
Amjad, give halak achui. I'm so excited to see his family. My friend got me an old laptop and I fixed it and it worked beautifully. Yep.
Het is voor het eerst dat de Joodse Amir de Palestijnse Amjad gaat bezoeken. In zijn dorp op de westelijke Jordaanoever. Zijn vrouw Orna vindt het maar zo.
It's risky. I don't like. It's dangerous. And
no, it's not. Oh, thank you. Okay. Bye. People that live in Tel Aviv, they're busy with the daily life. They don't know much about what's really going on in the West Bank. I think inside, deep inside, they're afraid to meet a Palestinian, a human being like them, who doesn't wake up and make a terror attack,
Is this Palestinian?
Yeah.
Village?
Yeah, this is Palestinian. And you see clearly this is a real border. You see all the electricity. أهلين كيف الحال؟ مبسوطين؟
Amir Cohen is een gewone Israëlische Jood in alles. Taal, cultuur, opvoeding. Behalve in één ding. Zijn ouders waren moslim.
He changed his name to Shimon Cohen. Cohen is the most typical name.
Pas heel laat begreep Amir waarom.
I didn't know that he worked in the Secret Service when in his funeral some people from the government came and Then they told us, because my father was enigma. We never knew nothing about his family. See him? I think it's him. On the right side, you see? He's waiting for us. Amjad! كيف حالك؟ كيف حالك يا بنتي؟ كيف حالك؟
היום הזה כמו חג.
גם בשבילי אמג'ד.
אתם באים לבית שלי.
גם בשבילי, גם בשבילי.
מבסוט הרבה הרבה.
גם בשבילי אמג'ד.
נגיד לכם בערבית אהלה וסהלה.
אהלן, שוכרן, שוכרן.
יש לבוא, אתה רואה, פה יש את צינור שם. יש את צבא וגם אמירי מלמעלה, אתה רואה? כל 60-40 מטר יש את צבא, עומדים.
Because of the settlements. אז הנה אמג'ד. אמג'ד אח שלי, הנה הוא, תראו. המשכנו פנימה.
Amir zet zijn eerste bezoek aan het Palestijns dorp live op Facebook.
אז זהו, אז אנחנו נמשיך לכיוון הכפר של אמג'ד. I like to document everything. I like to video and take pictures and write in the Facebook all the time to show them that it's normal to help each other and forget about bloody politics. Think about humanity.
Hij zag eens iets op tv over Marie, de gehandicapte dochter. Hij besloot zich over het gezin te ontfermen. Stuurt bijna wekelijks geld en spullen. Maar dit is de eerste keer dat hij het zelf brengt.
Ahlan. Shukran. أنا جبت لحم شوية شوية.
يعني هو أمجد بيطلع هو ماري وميرا مثلا بأسبوع 3 مرات، يعني بضلش غير 3 أيام. هون مجتمعنا يعني ما بيساعد ولا بيرحم، يعني مريض ما دخلنا فيه.
عندنا مثلا اطفال فلسطين كأب عنده مثلا طفل معاق، ليش بحكي لك؟ لازمش تعالجوا، ما في له علاج.
يعني هذا الأكل عندنا أكل مفضل إلنا ولكل من يعني بحب فلسطين وأكلات فلسطينية شعبية طبعا هاي.
Je door Joden laten helpen, dat ligt hier in het dorp niet echt lekker.
لما خرج لشباب اصحابه للناس الشخص يهودي بيساعد شخص فلسطيني يعني الكل بيستغرب وقد ناس ما بتصدق. في ناس ايش بتصدق انه كل اليهود مش الكل، واضح للناس فيهم ملاح وفيهم عاطل، عندنا العرب فينا ملاح وفينا العاطل.
Amir en Amjad zijn elkaars spiegelbeeld. Ze steken beide de grens over naar de ander en laten een ander beeld zien.
I'm taking care of Amjad, and Amjad actually, he's taking care of me, because if he say, Amir, the Israeli is my friend, he is my brother, he gives me the right to live in my country, Israel.
بنقل الصورة اللي عندهم عنا، ينقل الصورة اللي عنا عنهم.
And I hear this bloody word every day. The Palestinians are our enemy, and it's not true. He's not my enemy. Manar is not my enemy. Why they say it every day in Facebook and our government? Why? Instead of Salam Marie. Ya Habibti. Bye.
I'm going to post the link in the chat. They're not the only ones. I've seen so many videos. Kids, Jewish kids, Palestinian kids, they become friends. I mean, really, I don't understand what you're saying. Carol, who was that crying while the Israeli lady was talking? Sounds like a man. I don't even know what you're talking about. One second. Sorry. That was a neighbor. Yeah, they are. You know, it's just so nice to see people who are on Team Humanity. Because there's an awful lot who are not. And you know, that's the only way to bring some sanity and goodness back into the world. And yeah, okay, well, this was years and years ago. This was, I don't even think 2017, but let's see.
He could have been. Israel put Marwan Barghouti, one of the top leaders of the Palestinian uprising, on trial today. They say over the killings of scores of Israelis in a revolt which the handcuffed prisoner vowed would be victorious. A defiant Barghouti shouted in Hebrew at reporters who packed a Tel Aviv district courtroom, as well as in English at the start of Israel's first civilian trial of a major player in the nearly 2-year-old uprising for independence. He said, "The Intifada will win." Israel was expected to use the proceedings against the charismatic leader of Yasser Arafat's Fatah faction in the West Bank as a showcase for allegations that groups linked to the Palestinian president are tainted by terrorism. Barghouti said he is innocent, and that he was not asked to enter a formal plea during the 15-minute inaugural session. His lawyers argued that Israeli courts have no authority to try their client, a member of the Palestinian legislature. Barghouti was captured by Israeli forces in the West Bank in April. He says he's a political leader not involved with violence. He could face life in prison if convicted of murder. Striking the first blow in what his lawyer has said would be an Israeli show trial, Barghouti, holding his handcuffed wrists in the air and surrounded by Israeli police, shouted in Hebrew, English, and Arabic. He said peace will be achieved by the end of the occupation. No peace, no security with the occupation. He asked, "When can I speak? When can I speak?" We are joined right now by Shulamit Aloni. She is in our Firehouse studio. She is a former member of the Knesset, former head of the...
This video was prior, when she was in the Firehouse, that's when Amy Goodman was the reason why, especially the liberal Democrats, have stamped on her forehead integrity because of her past. After 9/11, she went from the Firehouse to a green studio. And that's when I started noticing an awful lot of the lies being told. Actually, it was 2011 when we had all of the massive flooding that was taking place, all of these tornadoes that were just ripping up towns, killing people, and she kept going on that Agenda 2030, it's climate change. I emailed Democracy Now! I recommended that she interview, some people, and nope. She cut it out, and that's when I realized, oh my God. And look at that fabulous studio, and now you're getting $1 million salary. Did more research, CIA, George Soros, funding Democracy Now!, and it's Money talks, doesn't it? Money really talks. How sad. But listen to who she's interviewing.
The Meretz Party. She has long been an outspoken opponent of the Sharon government. Welcome to Democracy Now! I want to start off by asking you what your comments are on this trial of Marwan Barghouti and what you think he represents.
I accept every word he said. Every word he said, I accept. And the funny thing is, or the sad thing is, that we had in the past the same picture when the Israelis, then under the British government, fought for our freedom and for our self-determination. They used the same tricks to bring people to jail. And on the other hand, the speech was the same speech. We want our freedom, and as long as we won't get our self-determination and sovereignty, we'll have to fight, and at last, peace will win. So exactly the same speech. But what happens is that we use the British colonial laws even in a more barbaric way against the Palestinians. First of all, the British were not occupiers because they got the mandate from the League of Nations. Second, they behave differently. And we, being occupiers and oppressing the Palestinians, step by step we do the terrible things one cannot imagine by using the British colonial emergency law. For instance, the destruction of houses, the collective punishment, and other things are according to the British emergency law from 1945, which we adopted.
Yours is a voice of criticism we don't often hear in the United States. Often when there is dissent expressed in the United States against policies of the Israeli government, people here are called anti-Semitic. What is your response to that as an Israeli Jew?
Well, it's a trick. We always use it. When from Europe somebody is criticizing Israel, then we bring up the Holocaust. When in this country people are criticizing Israel, then they are anti-Semitic. And the organization is strong and has a lot of money, and the ties between Israel and the American Jewish establishment are very strong, and they are strong in this country. As you know, they have power, which it's okay. They are talented people, and they have power, money, and media, and other things. And their attitude is Israel, my country, right or wrong, the identification. And they are not ready to hear criticism. And it's very easy to blame people who criticize certain acts of the Israeli government as anti-Semitics, and to bring up the Holocaust and the suffering of the Jewish people, and that justify everything we do to the Palestinians.
How powerful are groups like the American Israel Political Affairs Committee, AIPAC, the presidents of major Jewish organizations in the United States? That's another major establishment Jewish organization. How powerful are they in determining policy in Israel?
They are powerful because they serve the right wing of Israeli policy, and because they are backed strongly by the government of the United States. If your administration wouldn't, and not only administration, but the Congress as well, wouldn't back those two organizations, then they wouldn't be as strong as they are, because they don't represent the majority of the Jewish people in this country. There are many who say, not in my name, not in my name. What you are doing, what you are saying, it's not in my way. My name. But they are not organized. They don't have the money, they don't have the power. They were not accepted by the American establishment, political establishment, and that's why you hear mainly their voice, and their voice is very strong.
Again.
These voices have been speaking out forever. And yeah, all of the people who think that the Jews run our government. Oh, there's an awful lot of Zionists, not Jews, Zionists. There's an awful lot of evangelical Christians who are paired with the Zionists. Our House Speaker, the new House Speaker, evangelical Christian. You think we're going to get anywhere? Hell no. And boy, I have to say, what is wrong? What is wrong with people that they literally, they don't even fake it. They have no compassion whatsoever for the Palestinians. None. Their hatred, it's like this event triggered, something in them. And boom, right? The hatred just is spilling out.
Shocked at how many people who I previously respected have outed themselves as either know-nothings or anti-Semites since.
But you're a know-something, right, Megan? You're a know-something. Everybody else is a know-nothing. They know nothing, or they're anti-Semites? Do you listen? Can you hear what these people are saying? This kind of shocks me, but events will bring about the true colors in people.
Last Saturday. And some of them I considered friends, and I'm really kind of wrestling with what they've done. Like, I guess it's like a seething anti-Semitism that I didn't know was there. I don't know how my Jewish friends are dealing with this. I've heard from so many of my Jewish friends and my Jewish audience members who are like reeling. They're reeling right now because they've had this horrible, horrible thing happen to Israel. And in the wake of it, they have so many in their own country just brushing it off as like, oh yeah, Hamas had to go military. They had to go military.
I just want to say, fuck you, Megan. Because there might be some people who are doing that. But, as I've said in many of my lives, what happened, no one is brushing off what happened when Hamas attacked Israelis. No one is brushing it off. People explain. They're not saying they justify it. They condemn it. But they're not just starting at October 7th. You imprison the people, you oppress them, you take away all of their rights, and right next door, everybody's having a great time living. You're going to get an eruption from the people who are oppressed. No one is just brushing off what happened with the Israelis. You can explain it and have a whole lot of compassion for the Israelis who have to suffer the consequences, I'm sorry to say, of their own Zionist government. And this, I am so just wowed by how sick is this mind right here. I never knew, but as she says, whatever she was saying about my friends, and I'm so shocked about what they're saying, and I am very shocked at what you're saying. Oh, man. And here. Okay.
The president would veto an only Israel bill. I think that we've made that clear. The president would veto an only Israel bill. I think that we've made that clear.
Why? Why will the president veto a bill that will fund Israel's war machine? Oh, because they want more money to go to Ukraine as well. So they have to. put them together. That's why. I just don't understand. I don't understand. And yeah, the rhetoric coming from our congressman, representative from Florida, Republican.
As a whole, I would encourage the other side to not so lightly throw around the idea of innocent Palestinian civilians, as is frequently said. I don't think we would so lightly throw around the term innocent Nazi civilians during World War II.
So this guy is comparing Palestinians to Nazis. Wow. It is so disgraceful, immoral, sickening, disgusting what is coming out of people's mouths. Everyone share this so the world can't ignore it. The military-industrial complex has been profiting off the deaths of innocent people my entire life. Israel treats humans on both sides like cannon fodder. We need to stop funding an anti-Semitic genocidal apartheid state. Well, in some ways, they are anti-Semitic. The Zionists are. They don't care who dies. They're really pretty sick in the head. All right. But happening now, protesters at the port of Oakland are blocking a U.S. ship that will be sending military weapons to Israel. Good on them. Stop the U.S. war machine. Wouldn't that be sweet? Well, I'm going to change subject here to two things that are happening in the UK. And one is, where is it? Alright, so, this is another thing. UK AI Safety Summit. Musk likens AI to Magic Genie, says no jobs needed in future. And if you want to listen to the interview with Elon Musk and Britain's Prime Minister, Sunak, click on the link. Well, jobs are really being gutted. They are being gutted. 750,000 robots working at Amazon. But where? Okay. Here. DWP change could mean they can track how you spend your benefits. DWP, Department of Works and Pensions. In the UK, there are talks about tracking what people spend their benefits on. It's being explored to track where money is going in a bid to help reduce levels of fraud. Of course, that's how they frame it. You know, get rid of the big bills because, well, drug dealers use big bills, so get rid of them. Oh my God. All right. So, yeah, to help reduce levels of fraud as well as error and debt in the benefits system. Set out In May 2022, a policy paper fighting fraud in the welfare system could see trained investigators collecting information from banks on where claimants are spending money. Sound a little like social credit? Well, how about NatWest Bank? Woke NatWest tells customers to stop eating meat and starts tracking their carbon footprint. It's already in the works. NatWest's online feature has been telling customers to stop eating meat and has started trolling through their accounts to calculate their carbon footprint. The bank's mobile app is using transaction data to make recommendations about reducing carbon production under its new carbon footprint tracker. It even suggested customers could mend clothes rather than purchasing new outfits and swap dairy milk for plant-based alternatives. How nice of NatWest. NatWest mobile app enables customers to switch from my spending to my footprint. Informs customers about the impact of a purchase. One message from the app says, if you spend 15 pounds on a dress at a high street shop, that could equate to a footprint of 16 kilograms CO2. Wow, no kidding. The UK's average monthly carbon footprint is approximately 1,000 kilograms of CO2. So, what happens in one country is coming real fast to all countries. So it doesn't matter if it's happening in the UK, it's coming here. We already have a social credit system that's operating. A whole lot of people don't realize it. I posted videos on all of these companies that are tracking everything that we are doing, customer service. We have numbers. It's all been hidden from the consumer. We already have numbers. So those who have the good numbers, customer service, well, they pick up right away. How many of you are waiting 45 minutes for somebody? Okay, so it's coming soon. And unfortunately, we just did nothing to stop anything. All right, guys. I appreciate all that showed up on Never Lose Truth 5. I appreciate Sherry for creating Never Lose Truth 5. And because I forgot the password, I appreciate Sherry for sending me the password. Yeah, things are... I've been whacked in the head too many times. I don't like it. So, yeah. Thank you all for showing up. Be a force of good out there. Is it going to suddenly create goodness like Jesus came back and took care of all of the evil? No. But it may be good for your community, may be good for your family, your friendships. Live honestly and speak honestly. And if you haven't even thought about that, start thinking about it. Every live at the end, little one is right here. It seems to be his time to come in and sleep on my lap. God forbid I should move him. Yeah, he does start meowing. So again, I do thank you, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Be safe out there. And on that note, good night and good luck. Ciao, guys.